back to Hardball. In an effort to increase security, obviously, the Transportation Security Administration, that's the TSA, the people that check us at the airports, has increased screening measures for airline passengers coming from 14 countries. Look at them around the world there. They're all highlighted there. Alejandro Bittel is with the Muslim Public Affairs Council. He says this is the wrong way to go about safety. David Rivkin, a former Reagan Justice Department official who's been with us, disagrees. Let me start with you, David. Why is it smart to go to these 14 countries? Afghanistan, Algeria, it includes Cuba, by the way, Iran, some on the state terrorism list. All these countries, mostly Islamic countries, except for Cuba, I guess. Why do we have to, and what they're doing in these cases, have extra pat-downs, basically extra check of your carry-on luggage. It's sort of what they do. I travel all the time, gentlemen. It's what they do when you get on that SSS list. When they pull you aside and they say, okay, we're going to check out everything. We're going to wand you. We're going to check your luggage by hand. They do that to you if you break one of the rules. The buzzer goes off too many times. Is that right or wrong way to go?
It's a reasonable way to go. Let's agree with profiling. Let's leave aside political correctness. Is a way of marshaling scarce resources to manage a large threat. The real question is this the right way to profile? Let's agree that these countries, coming from these countries, is a reasonable proxy for the probability, enhanced probability, that you might be a terrorist. I frankly think we need to look at other factors. We need to look at age, we need to look at gender, we need to do some of the things.
What does that tell you? What will you look at?
Young males at this, but again, we shouldn't be blinded by it. We have some women terrorist bombers, but by and large...
Okay, let me ask you the bluntest question. The people that attacked us on 9/11, hard, horrific evidence. They were checked. They were called back out of line again because they set up the metal detectors. They're carrying box cutters. They were still allowed to get on the plane. They still killed the 3,000 people.
You need to do two things.
What good does it do to pull a person out of line and do one of these pat-downs?
Nothing.
If all it's going to do is slow somebody down for 10 minutes.
Nothing if it's ineffective by itself. But if you combine it with other measures, you have to work the process from beginning to end. Selecting people, checking people, and making sure they don't get through if they have carrying some suspicious objects. You need to do all of them. It's not either or.
I agree with my colleague by saying...
What do we do? These are countries, not ethnic groups being identified. These are countries, and by the way, just to remind everybody, 9/11, 15 Saudis, 1 Egyptian, 1 Lebanese, and 2 from the Emirates countries, the UAE.
Correct.
So they come from certain countries so far. They could be coming from Denmark tomorrow. We don't know. But their countries of origin correspond to the countries on this list. Your thoughts?
Exactly. Well, my colleague mentioned before that we need to have a layered defense, and that's correct. But the sort of ethnic and religious profiling that's taking place with
Where's that taking place?
Right now with the latest TSA standards, by selecting these 14 countries, that's just basically telegraphing our strategy. If we decide to profile from these countries, then terrorists are just going to recruit elsewhere. Profiling is not going to help against Richard Reed. It's not going to help against Jose Padilla. It's not going to help against any of the UK bombers that took place in the 2006 plot.
Why not?
Because these are people who don't fit profiles. A 2005 study by the Library of Congress found that there is no such thing as a reliable terrorist profile, especially based on ethnic background. This is a very ineffective... But this has been proven to be...
origin.
Yes, I understand that. But again, though, even based on country of origin...
Okay, if you have to only check certain people,
right,
because you can't check everybody, who should you check?
Well, again...
You have to reduce your... Since everybody... Have you ever been in LA airport, LAX in the morning?
Yes, absolutely.
6 o'clock when there's a billion people there?
Yes.
Or out here at Reagan when there's a billion people on a Saturday morning? You can't check everybody through exhaustive checks or people will never get on a plane. So how do you single out the people you check?
Well, let's go back to...
that's a question I want to answer.
Yeah, well, let's go back to what President Obama was saying earlier in his statement about the review. What we need to do is make sure that our intelligence actually connects the dot. We need
in terms of checking people when they get on airplanes, which people should be checked most thoroughly?
Well, actually, what you need to do in terms of a smart defense is make sure that in the layers themselves, you need to check people beforehand by having the proper intelligence.
How do you check people when they get on airplanes?
I understand that.
I'm asking a simple question.
Yes, and I'm getting to it because it's a nuanced issue. So you have stage 1 beforehand, and then once you get to the airport itself, then afterwards what you do is you look at certain, perhaps, behaviors that they're doing, behavioral profiling. If they're doing something that's strange, if you're asking basic questions about, where you're going to be going.
Wait a minute, who asks these questions? I go to an airport, they don't ask any questions.
Behavioral profiling, for instance, at Logan Airport in Boston, they're doing something right now where they have a pilot program where as a part of airport security itself, as one of the last rings of defense, is that they do this thing where they look for things that are possible suspicious behaviors. It doesn't look at ethnicity or race or religion, but looks at the actual behaviors themselves, things that might be dead giveaways to someone who might have something suspicious.
Like what?
For instance, if someone's going to be doing something where they're going to be a little bit fidgety, or if they're not answering questions straight.
But there are no questions put to you.
Well, in some cases, though, there will be questions put to individuals at last minute.
But how do you decide who to ask the questions of?
It's not just about questions either, though. It's also making sure to read the body language. Again, there are multiple things.
Give me a procedure to defend America, quickly.
Okay.
What would be your procedure to defend this country? His procedure is to at least start with this country of origin.
I'm not against it.
What would be your approach?
Right, but it's a layered defense.
What would be your approach?
Yeah, my approach would be a layered defense, starting with smart intelligence, making sure that we share the information. Then from there, making sure that once we get closer to the airport, we have behavioral assessments that don't rely on certain profiles that are not going to be effective.
Like country of origin.
Like country of origin, ethnicity, or
okay, well, I just don't know how you would go. You said ask questions. They don't ask any questions right now.
We need this kind of profiling. I'm not against nuanced behavioral profiling. We don't have resources for it. But let me point out, the ultimate criticism is profiling is ineffective. Let me tell you, if we push Al-Qaeda to stop recruiting the people who've been recruiting and start looking for Scandinavians.
Yeah, they will.
They will, but they would trickle down. This is what you do in warfare. You push your enemy to operate in less than optimal ways. I would bet you we're not going to be able to recruit enough Scandinavians. And profiling is just a starting point. You're supposed to look at other things. It's not a panacea. But to deny that it's useful as a foundational stone is just silly.
No, it only displaces the problem, and all it takes is one or two people to do these things. That's all it takes.
Let's get away from race and ethnicity to a simple question. Let's get to nationality. If you're looking for IRA, provisional IRA people back 10 years ago, right? The British or 20 years ago, wouldn't you start with the Irish?
Of course.
And is that unreasonable? Is that prejudicial? I'm asking, is that prejudicial? No. To look for the IRA among the Irish. Okay. Is that prejudicial to
That's
you?
because they were...
Is it prejudicial?
No, because in
Because they recruit the IRA among the Irish.
But the thing is that it's very specific. There's a difference between the IRA, which was an ethnic-based group.
Don't you recruit Islamic terrorists among Islamic people?
How can you tell who's a Muslim?
No, I'm asking you, but
yes,
this way is going by nation states. They're starting by nation states. Like you would start with Ireland. If you guys got a passport from Northern Ireland, you might say...
Chris, how can you tell?
You can't tell.
Exactly.
But
and
you
that's
can begin.
You cannot,
I go back to my question. 1,000 people get on the plane.
Right.
How do you pick? You only can check 10. Which 10 do you check? That's what we're talking about.
Not the elderly grandmother, that's for sure.
You check Joan Rivers?
Yeah, but we're no. But what you do, though, this thing is you can't necessarily tell who's a Muslim.
This is the problem, and I get a little heated on this because I think everybody likes to push aside the issue. You have limited resources. I don't think we pay the TSA people enough. I think we need some New York cops, retired cops with street instinct, standing around those airports who have the sense of these questions.
Yes.
By the way, you can't interrogate passengers. You can't ask them all these questions right now. We would need law.
Let me just say one thing. My colleague doesn't want profiling, let's be candid, because you're afraid they would lead to broader stigmatization of the community.
Yeah.
This is not what this country is about.
I would hate it if automatically I was a triple S person every time I went to an airport.
All of a sudden,
all
we're talking about is allocation of scarce resources.
But I'll tell you one thing. Everybody from those countries knows why this is going on. And it's not done by prejudiced people. It's done because common sense tells you. By the way, if Americans kept attacking Arab countries, we'd be checked.
Of course. Profiling.
I can tell you, if everybody that bombed these countries was from America, we'd be checked.
Profiling is common sense.
Please come back. I hate to say it, but this conversation is going to get more heated as time goes on. If we get hit again, this won't be a calm conversation. Alejandro Butel, thank you, David Rivkin. Up next, is there room in the Republican Party for anyone other than these protesters? They seem to be